Coming up, listener Brian demos Gemini and Meta talks AI.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hey guys, welcome to another Double Tap for Wednesday. I'm Stephen Scott, and you are?
Shaun Preece. Hello, Double Tappers. Hello, Stephen Scott.
How dare you?
I thought that was very professional for me.
It was actually very professional for you. I think you're more awake than I am today. I don't know what it is. I am waking up as we go today.
Keep
I don't know
listening.
why this is, because I've been up early this morning. I think that maybe I got up too early this morning. I'm all excited for Christmas.
Yeah, well, you're getting ready to hibernate for Christmas, it seems like. You seem to be slowing down. We're not on holiday yet, Stephen Scott. Perk up.
Hey, listen, you're not kidding. And, technology is not slowing down. I thought technology news would be taking a bit of a break over the holiday period, but no, it's not. It really isn't. It's look, Friday, the announcement of OpenAI's ChatGPT with Vision. Earlier last week, getting Google Geminii 2.0 with Vision. I mean, unbelievable. And on today's show, we're going to hear from Brian Clark, who has been playing with and very excited to play with Google Gemini. We'll hear the contents of his fridge a little bit later on.
Very nice.
This is how we do it, right? I don't know about you. Whenever I try to do these demos, I always think, why does nothing move when I need it to? It's like trying to find an inaccessible website when you have to do a demo.
Yes.
Every website suddenly becomes accessible. How does that happen?
I'm always interested in the contents of our listeners' fridges, though, so I'm excited by this.
That's right. Well, I was thinking, when I do my Stephen in the Loft episode,
yes,
this is going to be even better. Could just have a live AI sitting with us the whole time saying, yes, this, or, oh, look, it's another keyboard. It'd be funny. It'd be funny if it starts to get a bit of an opinion about it. It'd be like, Stephen, really? Another keyboard? Really?
That's why you want Ally and Vision's AI. That has its own little personality. Let's put it that way.
So we're going to get into that today, but we are going to kick off with some big breaking news. Yes, breaking news. Because we finally have a statement from Meta. Yeah, remember we've been asking the question, what's the state of Meta AI in the UK, and is Look and Tell, the describe feature, available in the UK? Now, for those who don't know, Look and Tell would allow someone to use their glasses, to summon the glasses, to say, look, I'm holding a thing in my hand. What is it? If it's a can of food, for example, what kind of food is it? So that, we don't have to play the classic blind food issue of or the game show, I should say, which is, cat food or custard for dinner. And I don't even have a cat. So if I did have cat food, that would suggest that it was hallucinating.
I've given my dog a tin of beans for his dinner before.
These things happen. Mind. Yeah, I must admit, though, giving the dog a can of beans is one thing, but you eating the dog food, different thing.
Well, except for in your house, but we won't go into that later on.
Not going into that. No. That's I need
personal matter.
I actually think I need authority to tell you that story. I think I need a legal agreement in front of me before I can tell you that one. Yeah, let's just say it involves Mrs. Scott, and I'm not going to go. I'm not going there. Not going there. But I do want to talk about Meta AI, of course, because that is the big story of the day. And before we actually get to the statement, before we play in the statement, I wanted to turn to a couple of messages that we've had, which I think summarize this whole issue pretty well. Doreen's up first.
Hi, Stephen and Shaun. A sporadic listener to your show, more my fault than yours, and was really intrigued to hear your conversation with Mike somebody, whose surname I can't remember, about the Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
Shebenek.
I purchased a pair of the glasses about a month or so ago, and for the first little while they worked okay. Sure, I had to use a VPN during the installation, though I ran into problems when the VPN was blocking all of my internet activity, so I had to turn it off, and off they've stayed. However, are you aware that Meta AI is no longer fully functioning on the glasses, and anyone trying to access this feature gets a spoken message to the effect that this feature is not available in your region? Word on the block is that this is due to Meta learning that people here are using VPNs. Also, there is thought that the blocking of this feature might be to do with privacy regulations within the EU, or even our own privacy regulations, e.g. GDPR regulations brought in 2018, now being exercised by the British government. I believe that Meta has brought in new terms of service which commence on the 1st of January 2025, which some people are reporting can be interpreted ambiguously. Is there any way Double Tap can get clarification of the situation here in the UK? The glasses are fully functioning in, of course, the USA, but also Australia and New Zealand. On an additional note, I liked your discussion re Windows versus the Mac. At times, that discussion got pretty technical, and I would just nudge you to try and remember that there are also oldies like myself to whom a lot of the jargon you were using is simply foreign.
Yes,
I have to sneak in here that, like Shaun, Windows is my preferred platform.
Great.
One final thing. Can I use an ordinary printer such as Brother or HP when using a Mac? I was always under the impression that you had to use an Apple printer, but if both Windows and Apple are usable on the Mac, maybe I'm wrong. Really love the show. Happiest of Christmas to you and yours. Warm regards, Doreen Tyler.
Oh, thank you,
Happy
Doreen.
Christmas, Doreen.
Happy Christmas, Doreen.
Sorry, was that a song you were about to sing?
No, I was just being happy.
Sounds like it. Oh, I'm not used to it. Sorry.
I like when people say that.
Macs and printers, Stephen Scott. Now, you are our resident Mac historian and expert because I don't believe Apple make printers anymore.
Please finish your thoughts. So there is no Apple printer anymore, Doreen. No, you're absolutely right. There used to be. In fact, I had, probably still do somewhere in that loft. I'm sure I get Google Geminii on it later. Yeah, it was called the Apple Style Writer back in the day. And there was various versions of it. And then there was the Apple Laser Writer as well. That was pretty cool. Steve Jobs killed them all, though. He came in, he said, right, enough of that. Because the company was basically going bankrupt by making every accessory you could possibly think of back in the day.
Yes.
They don't do those anymore. All the beige boxes are gone and it's all nice, colourful machines now, but no printers. So basically any printer you buy will be able to work on the Mac and probably work better than it would on a PC. Hashtag just saying.
Hashtag fake news. Of course not. Yes, Doreen, any printer will work on Windows or Mac. Anything you like, really. You won't have a problem.
What was the one you got? It was Brother, wasn't it?
I got the Brother laser printer. Don't ask me for the model because I cannot remember. You'll have to troll back through the episodes when I was looking. But I got a laser printer because I was so sick. I print so rarely nowadays, hardly ever at all, that when I did want to print something out, usually a returns label for something I'd bought, it would say, oh, I can't print this out, needs cleaning, or the ink is all dried up, or whatever it may be. And all the rest of the family were complaining. So I thought, I'm just going to get a laser printer because you can just leave that forever, years and years, basically.
Yeah.
And when you want to print something out, it just works. You don't have to worry about anything. So I took because I'd never really got into a laser printer before. Plus, there's not a colour one, or at least the colour ones are more expensive than I did.
All right, you're boring us now. Goodness me. That's just what Doreen was saying. We're going off on tangents.
Okay, sorry. Laser printers, Brothers, beautiful. Thank you. Carry on.
Brothers are wonderful. So, yeah, to the Meta glasses. Now, I will say, I think your message there did sum up, frankly, a lot of the views we've been getting or opinions we've been getting from people, which is, you get the glasses and, you use the VPN and then the VPN stops working and what's going on with the VPN. And you're noticing a lot of people, Shaun, online having this issue with the VPN, right?
That's
where the VPN stopped working.
Yeah. That's all we're talking about is that, hey, these were working fine. Hey, I did the set up your Meta Ray-Bans piece on here. Yeah. And I got into trouble, and rightfully so, for saying Meta AI is here in the UK. Because when I set these up, it was working absolutely fine. And that was without a VPN. But everyone that has been using a VPN has suddenly found, or a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, have found that the VPN has stopped working and Look and Tell has gone away. Okay. And the question is why?
Well, we'll hopefully get an answer to that in a minute, but I want to hear from Ryan, who's been having this issue as well. He thinks there may be a particular reason for this.
Hi, guys. I have decided to voice message you with this little conundrum. I have had the Meta Ray-Bans working with the VPN really quite well since I bought them for about 6 weeks. And yes, it's no longer working. I use a VPN called Surfshark, and it doesn't seem to work very well with them. It doesn't work at all with them. I can't seem to get my look and describe functions back. So I'm wondering if it's to do with the VPN I'm using or whether it's to do with the updates. Has anyone else had this problem? And if they have, was there anything else they could do about it? thanks for your patience, guys. I know I'm a bit stuttery here, but thanks very much.
Not stuttery at all, Ryan, but thank you so much for the message. And I hope that we can get an answer for you on this. And in order to do that, we reached out to Meta last week. We had hoped we would get a statement by now, and today we did, this very morning, in fact. The message has been read by AI. Rather ironically, I believe. Yes. Although not an ironic voice. I didn't choose that setting. I just choose regular setting. But no, I think this will maybe answer some questions. Let's find out.
We asked, can you confirm what the position of Meta AI is in the UK? Is it actually available, still coming soon with a possible date in mind, or is it not coming at all? Meta responded, Meta AI on Ray-Ban, Meta smart glasses is now available to users in the UK. This means people can use the glasses and ask questions like, hey Meta, what are some good gift ideas for my kids, ages 6 and 8? They're into arts and crafts. Or, hey Meta, what's the best patisserie in Paris? However, features that use visual input such as, hey Meta, what's the story behind this landmark? Or, hey Meta, look and tell me what kind of tree this is, are not available in the UK yet. We asked, can Meta provide a statement or participate in an interview to clarify the situation for the blind community in the UK? Meta responded, we're rolling out features as they become available and will let you know when we have more to share regarding look and tell features. We're excited to bring these features to more countries soon, but we don't have anything further to share at this time. In October, Meta also announced a partnership to bring Be My Eyes technology to the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses for users in the UK. We began rolling this feature out gradually, which is a common practice, to ensure stability and a positive user experience. This rollout is now complete, and users should all be able to access the Be My Eyes features. Be My Eyes on Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses does not require Meta AI. Instead, you can use a voice command such as, hey Meta, Be My Eyes, to initiate the Call a Volunteer feature with Be My Eyes. Thanks to the glasses and POV video calling, the volunteer can easily see your point of view and tell you about your surroundings or give you some real-time hands-free assistance with everyday tasks, like adjusting the thermostat or sorting and reading mail. The feature is accessible in the MetaView app under Settings, Accessibility, Be My Eyes. This integration brings a new level of convenience and independence for users in their everyday activities, aligning with our commitment to creating accessible, innovative technology for all.
So that statement sent to us this morning by Meta, finally answering the question, is Meta AI in the UK? And also answering the question, is Look and Tell in the UK? So the answer is yes and no. Is this helpful, Shaun? I think that's a helpful statement, right?
Well, it's helpful in the fact that we have now an official line on it. We have an official answer because there's been so much confusion out there. And the separation between the Meta AI and the Look and Tell feature, I think, is so important because if you try and search for the answer online, is Meta AI available, is what we usually look for. And, well, yeah, it is. And then you just assume the Look and Tell feature is available as well. And the answer there is no, it isn't. I wish it was slightly more detailed. I mean, you know, obviously there's nothing to share at this point about this feature. Obviously, we want to roll out these features. I wish it was a little bit more clear of the time frame and when people can expect to see this. But to be fair, I'm quite happy that they actually responded in the first place.
Well, yeah, I think that's great that they responded. And, you know, in a fairly timely manner, you know, other companies could learn from that, I think.
Absolutely.
Still waiting
That's
for some
right.
companies to get back to me, just saying.
I don't think people will be happy with that answer.
You don't think they will?
No. Of course not. Because
well,
look,
I think unless Meta said, yes, we're launching it next week, you know, sorry and all that, then I think, you know, I don't think anyone's going to be happy with that response other than that. Because, look, it's basically saying that feature is not available in the UK. And also, I might say...
And we don't know when it will be available.
In many other countries, you can't even get the glasses. So, you know, let's bring some, perhaps, you know, much-needed perspective to this, right? It's great if you live in the US and Canada where you get access to all these great features. But, you know, in the UK, yeah, okay, we don't have access to this one particular portion, which is important. I get that. I do understand it's important. Well, it's a wonderful feature that many people would like. However, I want to say this. I think what we're all waiting on is something like Be My AI to come along and do this. Because, look, I feel when we look back on this moment, if we have something like Be My AI and Meta AI running on the glasses, I wonder which one we will use more.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Be My Eyes, it's over to you. Or even Ira Assist. It's
or
over
someone
to
else.
you.
Yeah, who knows?
Because, look, as I've said many times before, I've given up with the look and describe feature on the glasses. I'm not trying to use a VPN. I'm not trying to find a workaround because honestly, it was nice to have, but I didn't find it that useful for, obviously, reading things was a real struggle with it. So I'm using Be My Eyes for my glasses. That alone is a reason to own the glasses. The WhatsApp video calls as well to gain assistance, that real-time video call assistance is amazing to me. So for me, I'm not too worried yet. I would love, as I said, to see Be My Eyes pick this up or some other service. I just don't know when it's going to happen.
And for people listening who think, why is this so vital? Why is this so important, right? I think the reason that it's so vital to us is because ultimately it just gives us another level of accessibility help, that we can summon an AI, hands-free, which is really vital when you're out and about, to be able to say, what we're looking for is obviously something that may not be possible yet, and that's part of the issue. Like, where is the door to the store, or where is the entrance to the building, or whatever it might be. Those things may not be possible with Meta AI, but we kind of dream that it might be. Or can you confirm what I'm holding in my hand type thing. But again, there's a lot of hallucination there. It's still very early days. I think we need something that's tuned more to us. I'm realizing this with AI. When you use a mainstream AI versus something that's been tuned for us, like Envision's Ally or Be My AI or Access AI from Ira, you can tell the difference, right? You can tell the difference between that and standard ChatGPT or whatever, right? It's the prompting that's the key here. That's the success of future development, is all going to be in the prompting. Like I was talking about yesterday, if you're digging in to try and get information on, say, a JAWS key command, or a voiceover command on the Mac, it's difficult to get that information. You really have to dig in. You can't just expect to just throw the question out and get the instant answer that you might want, because it has to dig through so much information to get the answer. So I think that's an important aspect of it. Now, that's not to say we don't want it. We do. Because, look, once it arrives and once more people are using it, the better it will get. And that, of course, is good for us, because the more features like this that come along, and this has always been my argument, the more features that are mainstream like this secure that future of these kind of devices for us. I still don't fully understand what sighted people get out of a feature like that, if I'm brutally honest.
As was stated in that statement, funnily enough, what's the story behind this landmark or whatever? I totally get that. I don't know how popular that sort of command is. For us, I think the most used reason for wanting this is just, reading things and identifying objects. I don't know how many people will trust something like this for mobility or navigation. Where's the door? Maybe as far as I would go. But as you said, it's all about the tuning, and it just isn't tuned for that anyway. Yeah. So I just want to quickly answer Ryan's message there about do we think it's the VPN that's the problem? No. It doesn't matter what VPN service you use. People are having this problem of VPNs just suddenly stopping working all over the place. So for whatever reason that is, it just isn't the VPN. Changing VPNs isn't going to make a difference.
And that's
sadly,
a common
Ryan.
Practice, right? I mean, look, Netflix are most probably well known for it. Blocking.
Yeah, let's be fair. This is networks. A workaround. If it stops working, it stops working. We can't really complain about that, because it's a workaround to get around a limitation.
Well, okay, we can't complain about it, because you're right, in the policies and all the rest of it, and obviously for regulations and all of that, they have to block. I think the issue here has been, up until this point, that Meta has been silent on the issue for us. Are these features actually available or not? And it wasn't clear. I think we now at least have the answer to that.
We do, but to be fair, there were more questions asked that we didn't get answers to.
Well, yeah, I sent a very long message. They've picked out 2 particular questions, which they've answered. So, certainly more that could have been answered, of course, but, we can only refer to what they have responded to. And
but maybe we've started a relationship there that we can.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I mean, look, I certainly want to foster a relationship here with them, because I think, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, why would you not want to work with a company that's as big as it is, that's working to provide, great technology, that can be beneficial to all of us? I think the thing for me is, there's a big conversation at the moment about the accessibility of Facebook and issues that people are having with that. Now, I'd be interested to hear people's takes on this, because I see very mixed responses. People who say that Facebook is inaccessible and they have issues with it. Others who say it's fine. Others who really, I wonder if sometimes it's because a lot of people use the M-Basic Facebook, which is m.facebook.com.
That's
for
dead
a long
now,
time.
Isn't it?
It's dead now, yes. But that's the point, right? So that died, and a lot of people were forced onto using the app on the phone or using the Facebook website, which is a different beast.
It was far too navigation heavy for me to find
a lot
useful.
going on in it.
I use the Facebook app on the iPhone, and it's absolutely fine, in as much is that I am consuming. I am reading things. I very rarely create content on there, and that seems to be where a lot of people have their complaints about being able to edit their posts and typing posts. I see a lot of people saying, I'm having to dictate this because for some reason I can't type in the text field or whatever it may be. So, and you know what, as well, there was issues in the MetaView app as well recently where, trying to choose how long you wanted your video to be, for example, it was just saying option 1, option 2, option 3, button, So yes, of course, there are still accessibility issues there. To be fair, on the MetaView app, they did fix that, I believe, quite quickly, or screen recognition was a workaround for that anyway in the meantime.
And it's great that Meta has the ear of, or, I should say Be My Eyes has the ear of Meta, Envision have the ear of Meta as well. I think that's really good. Can't be entirely them, though. Has to be all of us. And that's why I think the conversations like this are really important. So, thanks to Meta for responding. I'll be intrigued to hear what people say on that statement. I have a feeling I know what people are going to say.
Yes, so do I.
But, we have an answer at least. So over to you on that one. You can get in touch in all the usual ways. We'll give you the details in a few minutes. But I want to move on to Gemini again, because I know we've been talking about this a little bit this week, but it's big news. Everyone's excited by it. We've had a message in from Biggles, though, who's a little bit concerned.
Hey, Biggles here. Listening to your glowing reports on AI and screen sharing. What the hell's going to happen with all the information on your screen? Where is it going? Who's keeping it? What are they doing with it? You guys haven't mentioned anything about that in your excitement of what's happening. You have to be very careful if you're sharing screens as to what's on the screen at the time. I think maybe you guys should temper the excitement a bit until you find out what's going on.
Thank you, Biggles. Appreciate the comment. I don't think I was glowing about it. I mean, I was impressed by it, certainly.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we have said this on many, many shows. I get shouted down every time I bring it up by you, Preece, whenever I bring up privacy, because I'm always talking about the concerns of privacy. Maybe I didn't mention it in that particular moment in that discussion. I kind of thought it would speak for itself, but you know what? If it doesn't, then I'll say it. Look, of course, when you are sharing your screen or if you're providing any information to this, I've said it many times on the show, you have to be very, very careful about what information you are providing. Don't you just love it when your phone even though you've turned everything off, still just talks, doesn't care.
Starts reading out your messages.
Just starts reading out your private messages. Yeah, there you go. There's a privacy concern right there. Is anyone listening at Apple? But,
I just feel it's something we've covered. I mean, as you said, Stephen Scott, and this is the angle I was going to take. It's just, God bless you, Biggles, but we've covered the privacy aspect of AI. I mean, even when, Iris started, Be My Eyes started, we covered about what you should share with, a real life human over this, and especially with Be My AI as well. What's going on with that? The answer is, as well, of course, is to read the terms and conditions to see what's actually happening. Is it being anonymized? But the data, your data may still be used, but not be able to be linked back to yourself as an individual? Or is it not used in training? Or is it only used in training? Or, how far does it go? That's going to change, and that's going to be in the terms and conditions. If you are really concerned about that, then you're going to have to go through and read them. Honestly, I could care less. And look, I know that's I'm looking for the convenience factor. And if that means I'm giving up some of my privacy, that's on me. But yes, if you are really concerned, read the T's and C's. But I don't know if we need to keep saying that every time we talk about this. Be careful what you share.
Well, I think you do have to remind people, because I think what perhaps isn't realized often is what is happening to the data. As Biggle says, right? And I think it's a fair point. What is happening to that data? Where is it going? How is it being used? Now, if it's Google Gemini, it'll be being taken. It'll be the images will be anonymized. Information will be blurred. That side of it is one thing, right?
But hang on. Do you know that? Have you read the terms and conditions on this experimental version? I have no idea. I didn't bother reading it because I don't care.
Well, I'm going by previous terms and conditions of what they've said with their, especially with the images and the stuff that you upload through Gemini. ChatGPT has its own policies, and again, I mean, it's very detailed. You like Shaun says, you really have to go and read them all if you really are that concerned about it. My thing is, think about it from your own point of view. I say this all the time. I'm all about personal responsibility. If I don't want something going up online that is something that might be concerning or whatever, don't show it onto the screen. Don't put it on the screen, right? So make sure your screen is, all your windows are off, or, turn off all your apps or close everything down. Make sure you haven't got that file that says secret private Christmas present for my other girlfriend folder on your desktop open.
I wondered where you were going with that. Well done.
Just got to think things through a little bit. It's like it's on us to make sure that we're not giving away all our data. The idea is that all these companies take our data, but we give
we're
our
giving
data
it away. Look, Biggles.
Every time you go to our website and it says sign up here, and it's like give us your email address. That's you giving your data. You're knowingly doing it.
Any post
no one's taking it
on the internet, be it on a website, on social media, whatever it may be, that data is gone. That is in the public domain. Look, Biggles, as Stephen said, I think maybe I came off a little bit harsh there. Yeah, look, it's a valid point you bring up, but I just believe if you're that bothered about your privacy and what's happening with it, you need to do your research on that particular service. I just don't think I need to say it again and again and again. Be careful what you share.
Well, someone who's definitely not concerned, well, maybe he is. I don't know if that's fair or not. I mean, I know he's excited. Let's put it that way. I know he's excited about this new Gemini 2 feature, and that is Brian Clark, who has sent us this demo, and this is him using it in his every day.
Okay, so Gemini is now listening to me, which of course is going to make this really fun as I try to navigate because it's listening. But let's start with this. As I keep talking, I'm going to say, can you describe what you see?
Okay, I see a desk with a few items on it. There is a black mug, a microphone on a stand, a keyboard, a small black case, a red cable, and 2 laptops. There are also some clothes on the floor next to the desk. Is there anything
Okay,
else
you can ignore the clothes. How about the coffee mug? Is there any coffee in the mug?
Okay, the coffee mug appears to be empty.
Which side of the desk is it on?
The coffee mug is on the left side of the desk.
Excellent. Can you see if my old iPhone is on the desk?
Yes, I see a phone on the right side of the desk.
Excellent.
It appears to be on...
Is there an Echo speaker on the desk?
Yes, there appears to be a black spherical Echo speaker on the desk.
All right. So let's take a look at the computer. Can you tell if the computer is on?
Yes, the laptop is on, as it shows a screen with text on it.
Are you able to read the text from this far away?
No, the text on the phone is too small and far away for me to read.
Okay, I'm going to move closer. Can you read it now?
Unfortunately, the phone is not visible in the current view. I can't read the text if I can't see the phone.
Let me turn over here towards the computer. Can you read the words on the computer?
Yes, I can read the words on the computer screen. The text seems to be a document discussing grief and its effects.
Can you read it word for word?
Okay, I can do that. The text starts with, "It is the grief that binds us. Just as soldiers from completely different war fronts during World War II could identify with each other, those that have lived through a shared vision loss have a shared experience of grief. Even though you both have lived with low or no vision all your life, you can understand the magnitude of this loss. This is not
Okay,
to say
Gemini,
that
thanks. All right, we're going to walk down the hallway. Tell me if there's anything on the floor.
Okay, I see that you are walking down a hallway, and there doesn't appear to be anything on the floor. There are 2 doors on the left side.
Okay, can you describe the room that we are now entering?
Okay, the room that you are now entering appears to be a kitchen. There are wooden cabinets, a stove, a sink, and a black stool in the room. There is also a mop and some coats hanging in the doorway area before entering the kitchen.
Can you tell me where the sink is?
The sink is in the corner of the kitchen, below the window.
Which direction?
The sink is located towards the back of the kitchen.
Okay. It doesn't seem like you want to help me with that, but that's okay. We'll move on to the next test, okay, there?
Okay, I'm ready for the next test.
Okay, I'm going to open the fridge. Do you see mustard in the fridge?
Yes, I can see mustard in the fridge. It
Where-
is on the second shelf.
Go ahead, where's it at?
The mustard is located on the second shelf from the top towards the left side.
Is it in the fridge or the door of the fridge?
Yes, the mustard is located on the door of the refrigerator.
Is there anything on the second shelf in the fridge?
Yes, on the second shelf of the fridge, I see mustard, jam, ketchup, and a carton of Tazo tea.
Okay. Let's go look in the cupboard. I'm going to start holding some things, and I want you to identify them as I hold them up.
Okay, I can do that.
What is this?
Please show me what... That looks like a can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup.
Okay. What is this? What is this?
That looks like a can of Bush's Best Baked Beans.
Okay. What is this?
There appears to be a towel on the counter.
No. What is this?
That's a can of black beans.
All right. What is this?
That's a can of mayonnaise sauce.
Okay. What is this?
That is a can of Great Northern Beans.
All right, now here's the thing to notice about that particular activity. I didn't spin any of the cans around. I didn't have to find the labels. I just picked them up and held them. And I'm sure that some of those labels were backwards or whatever, and it still figured out what was what. So that's actually very impressive. Let's
You are correct that the labels on the cans were not always facing forward, but I was still able to identify what each can was. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
Not at the moment. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Please feel free to ask if you need anything else.
Well, thank you, Brian. Appreciate you sending in that audio demo for us, showcasing how it works. It kind of does need that constant prompting, doesn't it, to say, tell me things. It's like we can continually ask it, right, if something changes in front of me, tell me. And it just sits there and just does nothing. And you then have to prompt it and say, has something happened? Oh, yes, it has. But,
Yes.
he seemed to be getting good responses there. And I'm guessing all the cans and everything that it was talking about was accurate.
Well, that's the thing. We're still trying to nail down the reliability, right? Because as we all heard there, it's so convenient. The way it's so responsive, the way you don't have to, press a button to talk to it, and it's just having a conversation. It is just such a perfect way to interact. But how reliable is it? I've had a few hallucinations with all AI, not just Gemini. All of them hallucinate to a degree. So, but Brian seemed perfectly happy with the results. So I'm assuming he would know what the cans were, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting, and I imagine we're going to return to this more than once.
Yes.
I'd be intrigued to hear what people think about the GPT version, though. I know you need to be on the paid plan, but I'd be intrigued to know what people think about that. Because, the question is, would it be worth the subscription at this point? I'll be honest, my own personal view is it's not that different to Gemini at this point, in the same way that you still have to prompt it, you still have to push it. I did feel, though, when you told it you were blind, it gave you a heck of a lot more description all of a sudden. It kind of just seemed to open up the description and tell you, instead of just saying it's on the table, it would tell you where on the table.
What, in
the edge of the
ChatGPT?
table. Yeah, the GPT one, which I thought was quite
Did you not find that in Gemini as well when you told it you were blind?
Not the same. No, it didn't give me his. We should probably do a side by side, like do the same thing, but each,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
side by side. I mean, I absolutely should do that, says Stephen. Yes, I must. I will do that immediately. Watch me go.
I liked it how it seems to be the main topic of discussion for all these real-time video descriptions is coffee cups. I mean,
I know, it's always cups, isn't it?
When we were trying it out, that's all you were looking for. Where is it? Where have I put it now? Where has it gone now?
My favourite was when we tried, I think it was Gemini, wasn't it? When we tried, or was it? I can't remember which one it was. And I tried it and I said, tell me when I lift up the cup.
Yes.
And then when I said, and of course it says nothing.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, have I lifted up the cup? And it's like, no, the cup is still there. And I'm like, no, it's not, it's in my hand.
Yeah.
So,
we started having arguments with it.
I know, it's not, yeah. Can I also just say, had a bit of a panicky moment this morning because couldn't find my Meta Ray-Bans anywhere. Couldn't find them. And I was getting a little bit nervous because,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, hang on.
What?
Hang on. There we
of
are.
course. Yes.
Niff the cat.
Niff the cat, or whatever it's called. Yes. You got to be fair and balanced here.
Fair and balanced and double tap. That's what we've always been about. But yeah, I thought for a minute they were gone, honestly. And it turned out that they weren't gone at all. They were absolutely fine. They were just lying at the back of my desk. If only I had some AI.
Them? Yeah, exactly. Some sort of technology or AirTag or something.
No, I did the classic blind trick of just sweep my hand right across the desk, have everything fall off it. And one of the things that fell off it was the glasses.
Do you know what, though? You say that, you sweep playing up to the stereotype of us being clumsy people. I nearly swore then. Clumsy people. But, how many times have you just put your hand down directly on top of what you were looking for?
That is the freakiest thing, isn't it?
It's just, yeah, exactly. Oh, where's that? Put your hand down.
But not when you're looking for it. Never when you're looking for it.
Oh, I see.
But if you stop looking for it, right, and then suddenly you put your hand down, there it is. You go, wow, how did that work? Yeah,
yes.
I know. It's like we're a blind psychic. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, let's move on because lots of comments coming in, and in particular on the subject of national training centres. This has caught the attention of many of you out there. This was when I was talking the other day about essentially there needs to be a place somewhere for us to go to be able to learn about technology. Yes. So, I suggested something like a national technology centre might be a good idea for, say, those organisations out there for blind people to actually invest some of the money that they get into something that might be useful to us blind people. Okay. Shocking as that may seem. Anyway, Negative Julian's up first with his comments.
Hello guys, Negative Julian here yet again, and I sort of wish it wasn't. I do feel I call you far too often and I ought to sit back and let somebody else have a go. But you do have a way of hitting my buttons and setting me off.
Sorry.
On this occasion, it's because I was listening to your podcast from yesterday and you were talking about the need for a national centre for training. And yes, there was so much there that I agreed with you about. But what got me was this insistence on a national centre. I can see that would be tremendously useful for the younger blind and visually impaired who want to learn JAWS, Braille and so on for a sort of professional use to use at work and all this sort of stuff. Yes, I get that. But surely the bigger, the more basic problem is the people who aren't going to be doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the vast majority of people who lose their sight do so later in life, their 50s, 60s, 70s and so on. And they have no interest in learning this stuff so they can go out to work. Even if you're in your 50s and you quite suddenly lose your sight, let's face it, your chances of getting a job are virtually zero. Even if you're fully sighted, fully abled in every way, it's pretty much accepted that changing career or getting a new job when you're in your mid-50s, 60s or whatever is very, very difficult. If you suddenly lose your sight and you've got to learn basically how to function again from scratch, forget it. Most people, if they're not retired already, are going to be thinking in those terms. So do they want a national centre? In all probability, let's be honest, they're not going to learn Braille. Their experience of Braille up to that date is going to be there are funny bumps on the back of a paracetamol packet. That's going to be it. They're not going to. They're going to be preoccupied learning just basic mobility or a white cane, how to eat without half of it ending up in your lap, and all this sort of thing. Braille is way down the list, and in all likelihood, it's never going to happen. So, national centre, I just don't see it, guys. I just don't. Apart from anything else, how do they get there? Here's your newly blind or highly visually impaired person. Their confidence has just gone over a cliff. Suddenly, the experience of a lifetime is void. All those things they knew how to do, they can't do anymore because the lights are gone out. And you're going to say to them, let's say it's somebody called Stephen up in Glasgow. Hi, Stephen. Good news. I've arranged for you to go to learn how to use a screen reader on a smartphone. All you got to do is get on a train and go down to Birmingham for a couple of weeks. Oh, come on. I mean, you two are very confident. You go to Vienna, Canada, or whatever, you fly, you get on trains, all this stuff, and even you admit you're nervous about going out your front door. How on earth do you think it feels to somebody who hasn't got your skills, who hasn't had years to prepare for this, to learn how the gadgets work, or that they even exist in the first place? And you're going to tell somebody, right, go off to a national centre hundreds of miles away, learn this stuff. It's not going to happen. This has got to be done locally. It must be done locally. The basic business of introducing people into the tech, teaching them that these things even exist, for goodness sake. Somebody who's had a smartphone for years may very well not realise that voiceover or talkback even exists. You've got to train them in all this stuff before you can even think about national centres. And there is a void. I don't know what it's like in the United States, Canada and so on. But over in England, and I'll admit I'm in a fairly rural bit, but there's damn all. There really is. You're not going to get a lot of training on this stuff. And you've got to push what there is. And if you don't even realise it exists, how are you going to push for it? It's got to come to you early on. And that's how it's got to work. It's got to be local. If then you want to become more advanced, fair enough. Then maybe you can say, I'd like to go to a national centre. But in the first place, for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, this has got to start locally. It must. So that's all I've got to say for the moment. For now, this is Negative Julian saying cheerio.
That's all he's got to say for the moment.
That's all he's got to say. No, listen, Julian, I can't disagree with any of that. I really can't disagree with anything you've said.
Why did you say national centre, Stephen Scott?
Oh, look,
are we just talking about one?
You got to start
everyone
somewhere.
must go to.
Okay, well, here's my thinking, right? Here's my thinking. How many have we got right now? 0. So 1 would be a start. Now, would I like it to be in every single part of every single country? Absolutely. 100%. That's the goal, right? Having these centres. I mean, we used to have local centres we could go to for things. Those are declining or being shut down. I mean, where do you go if you want to test out a Braille display? I think it was someone put up the other day, if you have a store, essentially, an organisation for blind people has a store of some kind, make sure you show off the equipment that you're selling. And I'm like, do we really have to say that? I mean, is even that something we have to say out loud? I mean, how much of this do we have to explain? I feel like we're kind of back to the very beginning of humanity and how this all works. It's everything just seems to be so difficult. Accessing training is a huge issue for so many people. Like you say, Julian, where you live rurally in England, it's pretty much non-existent. Where I live rurally, it's non-existent. Even if I lived in a city, even in my home city of Glasgow in Scotland, I don't think there's anything really, nowhere I could really go to. I think there might be a thing on in a library on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. when I'm working, so I can't, that kind of thing, but that's it. And maybe that's on for an hour. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And it's desperately needed. And this is why I'm bringing this up, Julian. You're absolutely right to pick me up on the national point, but it kind of highlights my issue even more. It kind of says, look, we absolutely need somewhere for people who are blind to go to. I 100% take your point. But if someone newly blind, they're not going to jump on a train to Birmingham or to London or to anywhere else. It has to be local. It has to be available to them. But the other aspect to this, and the reason I kept talking about the National Centre is because I think it's just important we start this conversation somewhere, but also because we need to be able to socialise with other blind people. How many times do we get emails from listeners who say, I lost my sight a few years ago. I don't know a single person who's blind. I'm listening to you guys because I literally no one I know is blind. Thank God I found your show. You're the only people I know who are blind. I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where the National Centre can be part of it, right? So it's about training. It's not about, and I know what you're saying about Braille as well, Julian, 100%, right? Look, a lot of people who are of an age who are losing sight later in life, they're not interested in learning Braille. It might be useful in some ways for some people, maybe the odd person who might want it, maybe lots of people do. The point is, I think the way I look at this is there's no way of really knowing the answer to that because there's no option. It's not like we can just go off. And I'm not suggesting we have a university for blindness, right? That's not what I'm suggesting here. I'm talking about a place where we go to learn, I'd love to learn how to use this Braille display, right? I want a week or a couple of days where I can go to a place and learn how this damn thing works. Or how does my phone work with my screen reader?
Now, aren't what we're describing here a sight loss organization? Isn't the distinction, we're talking bricks and mortar. Is that what you're saying?
I think it needs to be.
Because we've moved away. I mean, we've seen it in the high street. It's talked about all the time. Everything's moved online. It's killed the high street. But you're saying we need to reverse that in the case of this situation. There should be bricks and mortar, an actual location
100%
that people can go to. I think Negative Julian is absolutely right in the biggest problem is actually feeling confident enough to leave the home. And as I mentioned, when I went for my first, when I was utterly sick of what's the point in getting up in the morning, and I signed up for a skill step, I believe it was called, with Henschel's in Manchester. The point that got me was that someone would come and pick me up and take me back again at the end because I just couldn't face the trip. But that changed. I was told, you know what? I'll pick you up in the morning, but make your own way back. Use the tram, use your stick, because I wasn't using a stick then even. And it made a huge difference. And eventually I was going there and coming back on my own. But the point was, it was that initial I needed help with. And I think even coming to your home and teaching you technology, maybe just giving you the first steps and giving you that confidence that, hey, maybe they can make that trip and socialize with other blind people. I think it's something to reach out.
That's the bit for me. I've seen both sides of this through my previous jobs work. And you would see people go or hear about people going out to homes to train people who are blind to use technology. And I'd hear from those volunteers who'd often do that. And what they would have to do often is leave the person's home with a big bunch of questions to come back and then answer later, right? Because all the information that perhaps that person needed answered wasn't in that person's head to give them the answers to, right? So they'd have to come back and get the answers and go back. Whereas if you're in a room, and I've been there, when you're in a room full of blind people who are all at different stages of this.
Yes.
And they get together, you'll often find very quickly, how do I do this? Oh, I don't know how to do that. And someone just pipes up, here's how you do it. And then suddenly you have a conversation, and suddenly it starts, and the walls break down between you and, in quotes, them. And that's when it starts to change for people. That's when we start to realize that, we're capable again, we can be capable again, because that's the whole thing, right? As much as everyone jumps online and says, blind people are capable, the biggest issue for a lot of us is realizing that ourselves, that we are capable of things. I remember, I've said it many times, the challenges I faced myself when I was losing more vision. And, for me, it was just about basically gravitating towards as many blind people as possible. I was lucky I worked in that kind of organization. I could do that. But I just feel that there's a lot of talk, a lot of suggestion that technology is really important for blind people, but it isn't realized in any meaningful way. And I think a meaningful way is for there to be a place where blind people can go. It's more than technology. It's the social aspect. But the technology can play a part in that. It can be a part of it. It can show. How many blind people have we heard from in the past who have said, I don't use a smartphone because it's just not for me. I can't use it. And you think, okay, is there a physical reason why you can't use it? Oh, no, I just can't use it. Okay. I think you probably can use it. You just don't know how to use it. And that's okay. But the problem is, who's going to teach you? And this is where you need something like this. That's my point.
I agree with you, but I just kind of think, isn't there something in place already? It's just not being fully utilized. And of course, it depends where you are. I'm thinking of the CNIB, who have lots of bricks and mortar locations where people can go.
Yes. And look, as I said at the time, there are pockets of greatness with this everywhere, right?
Yeah.
There are these little pockets of, this group over here doing a great thing here in this country over here doing great stuff over here. But the problem is, it is not universal, and it is very different in many places. And I look at somewhere like the UK, which I know most about, and I see sight loss organizations, and you said, ultimately this sounds like the role of a sight loss organization. I completely agree. It is.
Yes, and what happened? Yes. I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Julian.
I do appreciate that comment, Julian. I really do, because I think it's an important perspective, which must always be reiterated. But I 100% agree with you on all of that. So hopefully that eases you, Julian. Before we go, I want to hear from Tiffani on this, because she wants to talk about this, but also the subject of blind pride.
Hi, Stephen and Shaun. It's Tiffani again. I wanted to offer my thoughts on the blind pride and a few other things, but I'll try to keep this brief and not to ramble too much. I mean, it happens on occasion. But as far as blind pride goes, I think you're right. There's a difference between somebody like me who was born blind and somebody who goes blind. And I wouldn't even necessarily say that I'm proud to be blind or everyone should be blind or nothing quite like that. But, I am comfortable with it, I guess you could say. As far as training centers for the blind, I believe Stephen brought it up in the conversation. I agree they should be available, particularly I think, for people I've talked to have lost vision and they struggle with, doing everything as, relearning how to do things as a blind person. I also think there's value though, and for someone who either isn't interested in a training center or can't, as I like to say to my friends, put life on hold to take off for a few months to go to a training center. I think there's value in having blind friends when possible. I was born blind and I have a couple other friends who were, and it is nice to be able to call them up and ask, well, hey, how do you do such and such? Or is there an easier way to do this thing on the computer or whatever the case might be? And I think there's value in that. So yeah, interesting discussion as always. I love the show. Congratulations on the new sound effects, the cat one. And I like the other one. I don't know what you'd call it. The intense sounding one that Stephen played when he mentioned taking the Windows computer on a trip and a few other times he played it. It's kind of like that. Kind of reminds me of when you're watching a movie and something happens. That happens. I don't know. But great show as always.
Thank you, Tiffani.
Tiffani. Thank you. Yes. And hail to the new sound effects.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, calm down. I mean, look, again, I think that it's just a conversation I think we need to have. And I think it's it's kind of shameful, actually, we have to have this conversation that it...
What? What's shameful
Dare
about
I
it?
say it? And I know I get in trouble for saying these things, but, if organizations that are, organizations for blind people were actually run by blind people and had a blind, directorship and, blind staff, you might find some of these problems either start to, get solved, or at least get discussed, rather than just being, oh no, we're paying, someone else for something else, or we're using the money for some other way.
I want to argue against that because that's kind of why I'm here, but I can't.
Yeah,
I think
and look,
you're right.
and you know me, right? I mean, I'm not always one of those people. I'm not one of those people who stands up and says that the only person who can run an organization for blind people is a blind person. I mean, I think we know through the work we've been doing in the past, and certainly now, that there are amazing people out there, sighted, non-sighted, who get it, who understand it.
Yeah.
And not all blind people fully get it either, right? I mean, I've heard of some really bad examples of blind people running organizations as well. It's not, you can't simply say it's about a blind leader, a blind CEO. What it is about for me is a blind staff. Blind people, different voices at the table, arguing, discussing. I've said it when it was International Persons Day with Disabilities, whatever that thing is. When that day came along, I said, when you hear the voice of one blind person, you've heard the voice of one blind person, and I stand by that. I think that's ultimately what it is. But interesting discussion for sure today. We're out of time, but thank you so much for all of it. Thank you, Brian, for your demo. Really appreciate that. Thanks to Meta as well for your statement. I'm glad we got that in. And I look forward to hearing your response. But until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. Thank you. Bye-bye.